You're watching Al Jazeera. Let's return to that breaking news that we're getting out of West Jerusalem. We're hearing of at least 20 people injured there, that according to the Israeli ambulance service, in a shooting. Israeli police say they too have reports of several being injured in a shooting in what we believe to be West Jerusalem. These some of the most recent pictures coming into us, appearing to show what looks like a major highway there in West Jerusalem. According to Israeli police, they say, quote, terrorists have been neutralised. Let's go to Hamda Salhout, who's following developments from Jordan's capital. Just to remind you, our team is operating out of Jordan because the Israeli government's banned Al Jazeera from reporting inside Israel and the occupied West Bank. Hamda, I appreciate it's early days in our understanding of what's happened here. We understand at least now 20 people have been injured in this incident in West Jerusalem. Anything to add there, Hamda?
We are looking at least 20 people injured and at least 6 of them in serious condition after what Israeli police say 2 alleged gunmen opened fire in this area. That's the northern part of West Jerusalem, right outside of an illegal settlement. These are pretty main roads in West Jerusalem. So what Israeli police are also saying is that they have blocked off every single road that leads to this area. And Israeli police often use this term neutralized, and what it means is they have either arrested the shooter or they've killed the shooters involved, and they don't really give more information until they have completed any sort of investigation that they're following. Now, these roads that have been closed, leading up to Ramot, leading up to the northern parts of West Jerusalem, and leading to the illegal settlements in the area, Israeli police say will remain blocked off. If you look at the images on the screen, there is a lot of traffic that's there, and that's because those cars will now have nowhere to go. The ambulance services say they're still looking in the surrounding areas for people that might be injured. Everyone who has been injured is now transferred to a hospital, to a medical facility. It's also worth mentioning that today there is also a Netanyahu trial that will be convening, but of course Netanyahu has been updated on the situation. The ambulance services says that now these people are in serious condition, the 6 out of the 20 who are injured at the Ramot Junction by 2 gunmen. That's the information we have right now, according to Israeli police.
All right, just to repeat, Hamda, so we're talking about 20 injured, 6 of those seriously, 2 gunmen either killed or arrested. The word neutralise has been used by Israeli police. This all happening at the Ramot Junction in northern West Jerusalem near an illegal settlement. I wonder if you can help us understand the significance of this illegal settlement. Has there been any tensions, any frictions there in the past, given the long legacy of settler activity in and around places like that?
Well, look, the situation regarding illegal settlements is only getting worse and worse. So this is an area that actually cuts into occupied East Jerusalem, and it's the northern part of it. So if you look at a map and you look at the green line, this area actually does cut into what would technically be occupied East Jerusalem, just north of the main part of the city. And whenever you have any sort of incident like this, the Israeli police, the military, all of them will essentially say the same thing. They will essentially give out the same sort of talking points. But the reality on the ground is that this is an illegal Israeli settlement that a lot of the international community, of course, deems illegal under international law because it infringes on a potential Palestinian state in the future. So incidents like this, throughout the war, we actually have not seen as many of them. But prior to the war, we did see, perhaps on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, these sort of shooting attacks in response to huge military operations that were happening in the occupied West Bank. And that is what the groups who perhaps the gunmen were involved with, those are the types of statements they released, but some of those attacks were lone gunmen. But those attacks then were a result of the Israeli military activity in the occupied West Bank. Since the war on Gaza started 2 years ago, we haven't seen as much of these sorts of attacks. However, what we are seeing in the occupied West Bank is an even larger Israeli military presence. So Israeli police and the military alike have said that, of course, they are used to, in a sense, of how to deal with these types of attacks. Remember that people in Israel, both in illegal settlements and on the streets in West Jerusalem and the rest of what is considered Israel, a lot of people are armed. Civilians are armed. And you have had previously civilians who have gotten involved in this, who will shoot those who are perpetrators, people who have their weapons on them, who, before police or the military arrive, they have actually shot those who are responsible for any sort of attack. So this is a cycle that we actually, for the last several months, did not see a lot of. But now this situation is escalating because 20 people injured is not a small number. And we are just getting an update from the Israeli public broadcaster that 5 of those who are injured are in a critical condition.
Yeah, Hamda, as you've been speaking, we've managed to get a live link up to the site of that shooting. Lots of personnel, emergency crews, police gathered at the scene there. Traffic obviously brought to a halt, as you say. The roads appear to have been sealed off. Just to remind our viewers, we are looking at the aftermath of a shooting, according to Israel's ambulance service and Israeli police, in the northern part of West Jerusalem, close to an illegal settlement there. At least 20 people injured, 6 of them very seriously indeed. Obviously, a very strong military presence in around areas where there have been flashpoints in the past. We'll leave Hamda Salhoud for the time being. Many thanks for that, Hamda, and speak to Ori Goldberg, who's an Israeli political commentator. He joins us now from Tel Aviv. Ori, what do you read into the significance of what we're seeing unfold on our screens right now? Word is 6 people seriously injured. At least 2 gunmen, according to our correspondent covering this, either killed or arrested. The word neutralise has been used, all close to a sensitive illegal settlement. Roads closed there. What does this all mean, Ori?
From what I understand, neutralized means killed. There was an armed soldier on the bus, and he apparently killed the 2 men who got on the bus and opened fire. It means 2 things, depending on the identity of who carried this out. If this was in any way related to Hamas, which I doubt seriously, it means that Hamas is trying to step up its resistance to what is beginning to look like a superimposed attempt to quote unquote, end the war according to Israeli and American conditions, but I doubt that's the case. It seems much more likely that this came from the West Bank or around Jerusalem, and the West Bank and Jerusalem are not yet directly in flames, but the situation is quite dire, both in financial and political terms. Israel has been maintaining a blockade on the West Bank. It has been denying tens of thousands of Palestinians the ability to work for a living. The economic situation all over the West Bank is as bad as it has ever been. The Palestinian Authority is not up to the task, mainly because Israel is not allowing it to handle the situation on the ground. It is taking Palestinian money hostage for tax purposes or whatever official reason is given. So I would assume this is coming from the West Bank.
Right.
And as such, it is a signal of how bad the situation is there.
Ori, before we look at the motives, the ramifications, you did mention a crucial detail there. That it's your understanding that these 2 gunmen were killed by an Israeli serving personnel on the bus, that the attackers may have boarded that bus. Can you repeat what you know there?
That is what Israeli media is beginning to report now. It's still all at the level of push notices, but that is what is beginning to emerge.
All right, and the specific area, according to our correspondent, not too far away from an illegal settlement, obviously the site of a huge amount of tension in the West Bank.
Well, again, you have to remember that what the world rightfully looks at as illegal settlements are sometimes very much normalized neighborhoods, part of the metropolitan continuum that is Jerusalem, which is a huge piece of land. As far as Israelis go, nobody here would cover this as something close to an illegal settlement. This is being described as taking place next to the Ramot neighborhood in Jerusalem, which all Israelis understand instinctively is part of Jewish Jerusalem. So that is an angle not covered here.
We know, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial is meant to resume with the prosecution cross-examining Netanyahu after, of course, a months-long recess. Do you expect there to be any kind of knock-on effect from an incident like this on that?
I don't know, because I would assume the trial would stop almost immediately for a month. Israel is entering a month of high holidays where nothing official happens and pretty much all official institutions go into a state-mandated hiatus. But again, everything is connected, and I think the main message here for your viewers and for anybody trying to understand something about Israel's situation is that the Israeli blanket is way too short. It can't cover everything. Obviously, there were the amount of security personnel who are in the area has decreased because the situation in the West Bank itself calls for a great many more personnel to, as Israelis say, enforce the Israeli occupation there. The situation in Gaza is worsening. That requires more force there. Israel is embroiled in pointless, hopeless adventures in Lebanon and Syria that also require more manpower. Israel is not able to keep its act together, not in Jerusalem, not in the West Bank, not in Gaza, and not in Lebanon and Syria. It is the situation Israel finds itself in is not sustainable.
Ori, from your experience in the wake of incidents like this that have happened in the past, what do you expect to be the Israeli police response, the Israeli security response, especially in the occupied West Bank, if, as you believe, this may have been orchestrated from the West Bank?
Well, I would assume the response would be extremely tactical. They would try to identify the gunmen who carried out the attack, and then they would go after their village or town of residence. They would demolish their homes. They would take all kinds of punitive action. We can remember the last time Israel identified somebody who carried out such an attack. More than 3,000 olive trees were uprooted from their native village in an attempt to, again, quote unquote, teach that village a lesson. Israel is not, again, not capable of carrying out anything that is broader than a true, literal tit for tat, trying to show it has the upper hand by using an excessive level of force. It's true in Gaza, it's going to be true in the West Bank. Israel has no leadership that is interested, qualified, or competent in any kind of attempt to reach a broader resolution or agreement. All Israel has is carrying on these hostilities. No other action has any kind of political rationale at the moment.
All right, Ori, many thanks for walking us through all of that. Just to remind our viewers, we are covering a shooting in northern West Jerusalem. At least 20 people injured in that shooting, 6 of them seriously. Some of the latest images coming into us from the scene there. We will, of course, keep a very, very close eye on that and update you as and when we get more information. Many thanks, Ori, for